maybe. That's not it.
Yeah, what are you doing?
Go gadget intro.
Well, we're live.
We are live.
Are we just not going to do an intro video this time?
Go for it. Just go for it.
Oh, okay. Well,
we're gonna fly by the seat of our pants tonight. We're rusty. It's been over a month.
Oh yeah, apparently.
I mean,
see, people are going to be wanting to tune in because they're just like, "Oh, I got 2 minutes yet."
Well, that's
Not
true.
today.
I mean, but
anyways,
yeah.
Anyways, welcome to the ASC live stream. My name is Adam.
Do you want me to do the countdown? We can do the countdown.
No, I mean we're already in it. How about you quit interrupting me? God. Anyways, I'm Adam. And the two handsome fellas above me are Brendan and Babe. How are you guys doing?
Good.
All right. It'd be nice if we had a good countdown video coming in this thing, though.
Well, you're the one that is piloting this whole thing.
I know. And can we put a disclaimer out there?
It didn't bother Brian.
Why your audio and everything is trash tonight in comparison to usual?
Me? Oh,
yes.
Because where we are at, there's an internet outage. So, yes, you're going off of my cell service and using my Bluetooth headphones for audio quality. So I apologize in advance.
I just want to preface that for the people on the podcast that may be listening, or if you're coming in here, and why it's there's a little change where Babe and I look and sound amazing, and Adam is 480p over there.
Yeah, like 8-bit.
You know the frustrating part. So the ISP outage map or whatever, and literally I can look at a house that still has coverage right now, but my block and everything north of us is out right now. But
of course,
if I just knew my neighbors well enough, I suppose I could just go over there. But
there's that.
I am looking because I had the Facebook page pulled up, but I'm not showing us being live on there. There it goes. Okay, I just didn't refresh it. Cool.
And we've already got Brian was just in here a second ago, but Brian, hello. Brian, one of our Patreon members who loves to hop in here and say hello when he can.
Yeah.
So it's awesome. But anyway, what's been going on, guys? It's been a month. What's new and exciting in your world?
The year.
Yeah. How's 2025 treating you guys?
it's cold.
Good and bad. I'll just say in equal portions right now. Not bad. Bad's the wrong word because there's so much worse it could be. Yeah. Just life stuff. It's all good.
What about you, Adam?
Like I said, it's cold.
Okay.
That's all you really need to know.
Then I guess I'm going to have to be the verbose.
Actually, last week wasn't all that bad. I should say that.
All right. Okay.
But
that's good. Yeah, I was just saying, hey, it's I'm down here in Mississippi, where I was looking last night and it's like a message Adam, and it's like 10 degrees where he's at, and it was 70 something where I'm at, and we're having this heat wave, record-breaking heat wave down here in the South right now.
Well, you saw Glenn's post, because I'm hardly ever on Facebook, so I happen to see Glenn's post, and he posts his, he always posts his temperature gauge outside his house. He posts a picture of that, and that he had just gone for a motorcycle ride.
Yeah,
I love Texas.
Yeah, it's been beautiful down here the last couple of days. But I'm still optimistic. 2025. I think that we'll see what happens. So far this month has just been crazy. Just personal life, business life, all that kind of stuff. It's just been nonstop hectic already, which I hope is not, what the rest of the year is going to look like from that standpoint, because that's a lot going on. But I'm excited about some stuff we're working on it, and I'm working on, and that we're going to be doing something we'll talk about here a little bit later as well, that you may have seen on social media if you're on there. But yeah, that's kind of what's been going on around these parts. But not to waste a bunch of time since we didn't have our 2-minute intro. Babe, so the other day, Babe, I think it's Babe that started the whole conversation, but hey, we haven't done a live stream for a while. And I agreed. And I was thinking about doing one. Actually, I thought about doing one last week. That didn't work out for reasons. Anyway, because I wanted to get one in January. But and that's one of the things, if people are tuning in and listen, one of the things for 2025 is we're not forcing live streams. So it's, in the past was like every other week we try to do one type of thing. And that's one of the things for 2025. One of the is that we're not going to force a live stream if there's not something to do about it, for multiple reasons. But for one, just that with the podcast, and there's enough other content going out there, with the podcast having 2 episodes a week that goes out, one on Monday, one on Friday, and then these are just fillers that go in there and great for making content. But to give you guys a little bit of a break too, and not forcing everybody to be on here, even though we all enjoy being on here. I didn't want to make this more of a chore than it needed to be. So, we'll probably do one a month, maybe more, maybe less, but on average, I'd say probably one a month. But anyway, back to what I was saying. So Babe said, yeah, I got an idea for what we need to be doing. So that was my segue to Babe. What are we talking about tonight?
All right. First, though, Breathe, the movie Breathe.
Yeah, comes out the end of this month.
Yeah, Hollywood rendition of it. So not the Netflix. It's based on the same thing the Netflix was, but yeah, it comes out. So for those interested,
you want to tell people what that is in case they don't know?
It was a commercial diver through a series of events that it's. You think only it could happen in a movie. It happened in real life, where the ship above them. If you know anything about it, he was in a bell, a saturation bell, and so the diver's tethered to the bell. The bell's tethered to the ship, and that's their lifeline. That's how they get their air, their breathing gases, and they find their way back in dark water. So the ship lost, basically, easy way of it, just a quick summary, lost power and moved out of position, and it first trapped and then snapped one of the divers' tether, his lifeline. And so he was left down there while the rest of them were scrambling to get everything. And I'm going to leave it at that because I'm not going to be a big spoiler ruiner for the whole movie for you. But yeah, it's it'll be one of those edge of the seats things. I guarantee it.
I can't wait. That's gonna be good. I know the story now. I remember first time hearing this story. I was like, "Holy cow!"
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So it'll be good.
All right.
Anyway, go ahead.
So my idea was this, and it's a pet peeve of mine, and so I was just like, I'm gonna pick a fight. So I'm going to call out. I'm not calling out anyone specific, but hear me out. When you got so many people that work and play underwater, scuba, whatever, and then they get on a microphone or in an interview and they say, we don't belong there. Like as in being underwater.
Mm.
Okay.
Has this recently happened that set you off?
Yes, like last week, right after I heard a podcast that happened, I was like, oh, it's like, of all the people to say it too, and it's like, and it just goes, it's.
And what was the context that was brought up in, without giving too much away, obviously?
I'm trying to remember, but it's just the basics. Talking about what you have to take with you as far as equipment and stuff to go underwater, and then it's like, because we don't belong there, and it's like, okay, I call foul. So Adam, how cold is it where you are?
I don't know, like still probably 10, give or take.
You walked outside for, I don't know, 30 minutes. How are you going to fare? No coat, no anything like that?
I'm a bigger boy, so I could probably last a little bit longer, but still, yes, it's it would not be good.
It's my whole point for cold weather. Airplanes. Yeah, he's froze up. Good. So it's the idea.
I think
If
my
we don't,
internet kicked on. Sorry.
oh, cool. It's the idea. If we don't belong underwater, then we don't belong going out in the cold. We don't belong flying. We don't belong getting in cars and driving. We don't belong in and it's all because we use an accessory to make it so that humans can do that. It's the same thing going underwater. You are adding equipment, adding something to you to make that work for you. And because you can't tell me when you go out in frigid weather without a coat, that coat isn't life-saving equipment.
I can see the argument though is that we're still in a natural environment from the standpoint that, you know, it's not an alien world like the ocean is, and I'm playing devil's advocate here. It's not that I agree with what I'm saying. I'm just saying, but given the history of what man does anywhere we go, the concern that we would damage the areas that we lead to, and that we do have to transpose so much to create it livable. It's not so much of lighting a fire or putting a jacket on for us to live underwater. Even look at scuba. I mean, you have to bring your air. It'd be similar to climbing Everest or something along those lines, where you don't have your air. But at the same time, nobody's living on the top of Everest. They're just visiting once in a while. Same thing as like recreational diving. It's the same thing as recreational diving. You go there and you visit, and you leave, and you come home and stuff like that. What ASC is trying to do is completely different from that, where we are trying to get people to live and work and stay underwater for extended periods of times or the rest of their life. So I can see the argument.
The rest of their life may be taken the wrong way there.
Well, okay, fair enough. But so I can see why they're saying that. Go ahead. I'm not going to argue my own point here.
That's okay, because that's what I want. Because it's at first my knee-jerk reaction is, yeah, we don't belong there. Except why? 3/4 of our natural environment, the earth we're on, no matter how you believe we got here, this is where we're at. This is where we're like supposed to be, and that's part of it. That's a bigger part of it, actually. So just using tools,
yeah,
to introduce ourselves into that environment, and yeah, that's. I got more, but I just want to see what other guys you got to say about it.
I mean, before I go more, you got anything you want to throw in there?
I think to your point, and I guess it could be an argument for either side, really, is that a lot of, like, I guess every other living creature has had a form of evolution and adaptability of some sort to be able to acclimate to their environment, whether it's, and like I said, that's even if you want to get into the argument of what type of evolution is out there. But to say, hold on, what's the best way to say it? Humans have the advantage of a technological evolution, where it's like our adaptability comes from the innovation and intelligence of what we can do. So it's like, yeah, like biologically, no, we cannot fly. So, but intellectually and technologically, we were able to find a way for us to be able to technically fly. Maybe not with our arms actually, but like through mechanics and stuff, we've been able to figure it out. Same, there's no reason why a human should be able to be in space or whatever it is. We figured out a way to do it. So the same thing could be said about being underwater. Yeah, we're not talking about like humans are not going to evolved gills or whatever, and like eyes that can just see underwater, whatever it is. And but technologically, we can figure it out, and we can find what we need for the adaptability of it.
Yes.
And I think to your point, you just mentioned it too, that if you're going to start arguing, hey, we don't belong underwater, or the concerns of what mankind is going to do to the oceans if we start to see hundreds and thousands of habitats in underwater houses, or even floating ones at that, what that does with all the human waste, or just the disruption to the environment. If that's going to be your argument and that's going to be your concern, then that same argument has to be done for space as well. And I know what people are going to say. Well, there's no life forms there. There's nothing there that we're affecting. Right.
That we know of.
That we know of 100%. Yeah. And would that change? Say, we land on Mars and we find out that there is a level of life there. Are we going to give up all the trillions of dollars that have spent in trying to get to that point because of that, or will we just try to find some sort of cohabitation and spend, again, the technology? Will we advance the technology to work around that problem so that we're not doing that? Same thing with underwater is, as we've talked about, and as I've said for a while, is that the technology will catch up to what we're trying to do here as more and more habitats get underwater. On a level that's not scientific based, on the everyman based, the technology will get cheaper, it'll get more effective, it'll get better. We're going to find new ways, and new companies will arise to, hopefully, I'm being hopeful here, but I believe, you look at what's happened, new industries arise when there's a need, or there a perceived need. So we build underwater habitats and say there is some sort of problem that we come up with. There's going to be nonprofits that will arise to combat what we're doing or perceive to be doing to make it better and to correct those wrongs per se. So even though what my previous argument was, I don't understand the argument, I guess, more than anything, except for being very narrow-sighted and not being able to see a bigger picture. You're looking at a very small, immediate concern versus a long-term or a bigger concern out there.
So, actually, you said it well with the narrow view, because my second part of this was to point out that the world's full of lawsuits and issues. And if a person goes on something like this and says, we don't belong there, and then goes and gets in the water and a scuba accident, kicks your buddy in the face, and they lacerate the side of their face, and now it's going to take surgery and whatever, and someone sues, and insurance, lawyers, whoever. I don't want to use the unlive thing, so I'm just going to use something stupid like that. The idea is you were there, and you said you don't belong there. You said you said it. So now that can be used against you, because you're sitting there saying that you don't belong in that environment. So it's like, that's my other argument. Is to me, it's no different than, again, going in a plane. So I'm not going to sit there and say I need to fly to Florida. So I'm going to sit there and go, well, I don't belong there. I don't belong in that plane because humans can't fly, right? So that, to me, that's the same thing. It's just, even if you don't think that way, don't say it that way.
Yeah, and to that point, look over the past week. We've had several different accidents where lives have been lost.
Yeah,
but we're not going to stop flying.
Right.
Exactly. Stuff happens, accidents happens, and we do our best to try to combat that and make sure that it doesn't happen. And the odds are extremely low that it's going to happen. But when an accident happens, you don't just throw the baby out with the bathwater and call it quits and say, oh, well, it's not worth it type of thing either. So, as we've talked about over the past year, there have been several catastrophic not compatible with life sort accidents that have happened with underwater habitats over the years. And there will most likely, the odds are there that there will be another more in the future as this expands out and gets bigger. I think it's folly of us to think that it won't happen, but hopefully it's not under ASC's guidance by any means. And I don't wish it on anybody, but just being realistic about the whole situation. But as soon as something like this that is a little riskier than the normal, and it's not the normal person's view, as soon as something like that happens, it's going to be the main headlines, and it's going to be and stuff along those lines, and it will be, hey, man doesn't belong underwater as soon as an accident like that happens, or any sort of accident, regardless. If look at oil spills of the past when like the Exxon Valdez and stuff along those lines. But the benefit, I don't want to say it this way, but it is what it is. Do the benefits outweigh those losses and those damages too? And that's a whole entire other concept we talk about is the benefits of living and working underwater that we don't even know about yet, but we believe there could be out there too. So,
well, I think to add on to what you're saying though, where you're talking about there's catastrophic events that have happened underwater. I mean, in any scenario that I can think of, I can't think of a catastrophic event that has happened just because, other than like literal natural disasters, but like anything that involves people a lot of times is usually because of some sort of error that could have been avoided. Now, that's not to say like, point and blame at people by any means.
Sure.
When you talk about like what was the submarine a couple of years ago, the Titanic one, it's like, yeah, like physics says you can go to the depths of the ocean, but the guy did not build those things in order to sustain that. The science is there, the technology is there to do it. He chose not to have the thing up to spec for that. You talk about like a lot of the diving incidences that like in the Delta P incidences where people like the divers got sucked into these like pipes and stuff and they like died and all that. And that was a matter of like, there was a miscommunication of procedure of getting the pressure set the way they were supposed to. It's not like it's like it happened because we don't know how these things work. It's because procedure wasn't followed, or the science wasn't followed, or the engineering wasn't followed. So for us to say, and it's the same thing with a lot of aviation accidents or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's all it comes down to usually an engineering thing or a miscommunication. It's not because nature's telling us we can't be there. It's because we're ignoring what science and whatever is there to prove that we can. So, like you mentioned one of the aircraft accidents that happened this past week, there, debates of miscommunication and all that. It's just like, it wasn't because like magically they just showed up next to each other. It's because something happened out of human error and, whatever you want to go down with that. So what I'm trying to say is the argument of like, oh, humans don't belong in the ocean. It's like, we do, because our science proves that we can be there. We have already proven everything. It's not like there's anything unknown about it other than maybe like, what kind of life forms are down there, because we don't have everything mapped out. We don't have everything documented. But as far as like physics goes, we've pretty much got it figured out.
And several things you just brought up too. And then, just like look at ocean builders. Just last week they ended 120 days underwater. Although it's not, a self-contained underwater habitat like we're working on there. Rudy was in underwater in a room for 120 days, without going up, getting, sunlight, all that kind of stuff is just coming through the windows and stuff underwater is like that. So, that was almost 4 months.
Yeah.
That's a crazy long time, short of submariners and stuff like that. You don't see that happening. Joe Duture did 100 days, which was awesome. And I think the most recent podcast, the short I did, or maybe 2 weeks ago, I said something about the lines of, hey, if somebody wants to fund me, I'll spend 6 months down there. I'll spend a whole year down there. If somebody wants to fund me, spend that time down at Jules, let me know. I'll go down there and do it. Give me internet, give me food. That's all I need pretty much. So it's these duration things that we're working on. But back to what I was going to say there is it doesn't matter. We all know what you're saying, Adam, in that accident happened. But as soon as it happens, the media is going to spin it and make it look like it's the worst thing ever, and that everything needs to end and stuff along those lines. So fortunately, you would hope that most people know, but we're still in such a very niche thing that we're working on that there has. Right now, say if ASC had a habitat down there and somebody had been sitting down there and it imploded or something along those lines, it would probably be a headline for its 15 minutes or whatever like that of disaster and something along those lines. It'd probably be the end of the company because that bad publicity, the bad stuff like that would be more than enough. Even though most people in the know in the community would understand, hey, here's what happened. It was a freak accident type of thing or whatever, and it could be rightly fixed. But unfortunately, public opinion sometimes supersedes logic. And that's one thing that we have to be cautious about too, especially when we're talking about the naysayers out there that are saying, hey, we don't belong under there. And then stuff happens.
Sorry, the cartoon in my head had some, Joe Fix-It guy with a screw gun on the inside of a habitat. Oh, hang this picture here.
It puts a hole through it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think it's hard for that discussion to be on here when you're preaching to the choir per se. I think this is going to be one of those things where I'd be curious, as people are watching this later and something along those lines, what arguments can they find that would be worth having answers to the general public on that? What things are we missing? Obviously, you like to think we've thought through a lot of these scenarios, but there are all scenarios that we haven't thought through or may not have figured out. And what are those? I've talked to, countless, but I've talked to so many different people that in this space that are trying to do similar things or that, and it's, we all know this is doable. It's already been proven it's doable. It's just bringing the economies of scale and bringing it down there and finding a need for this for people, whether it is scientific research, whether it's recreational, whether it's business, whether it's whatever it may be. And each one of those has a different challenge associated with it as well. So, if it's a scientific habitat like, Fabian's working on or Deep or whomever along those lines, that brings different challenges and different arguments to it versus something more like what we're working on, where we're looking more at the business recreation spectrum where we're not going for, at least not first, depth and all these hardened engineering that's required. So there are different arguments for different ventures, I guess.
Yeah, because our bias is from what we're wanting to do as much as anything.
Right. Yeah. I think like once in time, we're all in the same boat here too. So, if Proteus, if Deep, if they had some sort of an issue, people aren't going to look at us and be like, oh, well, they're going to put us in the same. It's kind of like the EV cars right now. It's like, there's everybody's got an EV car out there now. But if one of them has a massive fire, they get thrown in there for all EVs are bad because this one had this issue. And it's the same thing with this, is if one company out there does something crazy, pushes the envelope, once again, like Titan a couple of years ago, this submarine went out there and did this. Now all of a sudden, well, are any subs safe? As should anybody be taking submersibles down there? It's not a thing. Or just because this one issue blankets this to the media, to the general public, it blankets them as all being iffy and questionable and dangerous and deadly, and you don't want to do anything with it. And so I think that's something we have to be cautious about too, and safeguarding and policing our own too at the same time. I think that's important, that if there is a company out there XYZ company trying to build underwater habitats and trying to cut corners and build it cheap and get it out there and stuff like that. We need to be out there being like, hey, whoa, dude, you might want to not do that type of thing and do what we can, because that bad move is going to soil investors. It's going to soil public opinion. It's going to soil everybody to what we're working on. And at the end of the day, it'll just add more fuel to that fire of, hey, we don't belong underwater. We can't even build a place underwater for somebody to go hang out for the weekend because Joe Schmo over there was trying to build it out of cardboard or something.
And hung a picture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there's different aspects of that too, because I don't know if you guys have heard of Gareth Locke. He analyzes human factors.
Okay.
And it's going to make me, it's right there on the tip of my tongue. Wow. But he does a lot of scuba stuff. But you just need to look him up, because a lot of it is human factors. And it goes back to what Adam was saying, if someone made a mistake, a miscommunication, where did that start? And he's really good at that. But on the flip side of that, when you were talking about accidents and stuff, on the recreational side, they know that a lot of scuba accidents or scuba deaths aren't actually scuba deaths. It's usually the person going out there health-wise when they shouldn't be doing whatever it is they're doing to cause them. And it's usually something like a heart attack or something that's happening underwater. So it looks like,
or simply inexperience too.
Yeah. Which within experience, that goes back to a lot of what Gareth Locke stuff says, because you should be getting the training, and there's the whole practice makes perfect. Well, no, perfect practice makes perfect. If you practice something wrong, you're gonna mess it up. And how long is it before something catches up to you? Driving's the same way. You're driving a car, you're going to cut corners and make mistakes. You're going to cut little corners, safety corners. When's it going to catch up to you? Because odds are it will.
The flip side of that too is it throws it back on us, is that if we can design it and build it so that it takes care of all those issues, so that there doesn't need to be a training. The end goal should be that anybody should be able to come stay underwater with no training, with nothing like that. Basically, going back to EVs and stuff like that, is if once they're self-driving and stuff like that, anybody can hop in a car, regardless if you're drunk, if you're 5, if you're whatever, and take you from point A to point B without you having any knowledge, and keep you safe. Same thing with underwater habitats. That is the goal there. That you shouldn't have to be certified to scuba dive. You shouldn't have to take a course on what's going to happen down there. You shouldn't have to sign waivers and all that kind of stuff. It should be just like going to your hotel down the street and hanging out there for the weekend. You don't have to take a video course on how to go spend the night at a hotel at the Hilton or something along those lines. You just go check in and you go to your room. Yep. Same thing with underwater habitats. That's where we have to get to, because people are going to people, and they're going to be and they're always the biggest problem. So how do you combat that? By designing around eliminating the people. But and that's bottom line. That's where we have to get to, as well as engineering something that hasn't been done before. Whereas the science community, they're able to take care of their own. Their habitats have always been designed around that. But we have to be better. We have to do better, and that is a lofty goal. It's a doable goal. I think the technology is all there.
Yeah,
I think it can completely be done. It's just at this point in time, it's still an expensive goal.
Yeah.
We're good. Did you have any more comments? Did you have any more thoughts or arguments on that point there?
No.
I think Babe should find that guy and invite him on our show, and then we can debate them. Not in a hostile way or whatever, but it's just or maybe not even that person, but just somebody that has that viewpoint and maybe has a question, and be like, hey, we want to be able to be challenged those questions. We want to be,
absolutely.
It's just and let's do it live. So it's like Bill O'Reilly, let's do it live.
I knew that was coming.
But I mean, well, not only that, but like I think it would show the genuine,
Yeah. They're not just out here just
genuine.
talking. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not like we're like, all right, well, we already knew what questions he was going to ask ahead of time and blah blah. It's like no, it's just, and like I said, not even in a hostile way or like an offensive way by any means. It's more of like, hey, like, you have this belief, and we want to know why. And if you have like concerns that we can't figure out, then that's something we need to know. You know?
Yeah. And with all this, I mean, all this is education. You know, as we venture through this, it's educating people on what we're doing and educating people on that what you thought is wrong about living and working underwater, and that hey, it's not this big scary thing that you think. I hear all the time from people when I tell them what I'm working on is like, man, I don't know, I'd be terrified to get underwater and stuff along those lines. So like, I get it. If I'm like on a boat or something like that and there's waves and stuff like that, I can feel my anxiety is getting up. I do not like to be above the water, but it's a completely different experience once you get below those waves. And so, as Babe can attest, I probably got some of my best sleeping at Jules. Man, that was some good sleeping right there. I mean, that the ambient sounds. I know I'm in this cocoon underwater. I'm safe. I felt safe the whole time. I knew the technology. I knew it's like that. That's what we want. We want people to experience that. We want people to have the best sleep of their life, to be safe, to be secure in what they're doing, and to have faith in what it is too, without this irrational fear of the thing's going to implode on you or it's going to flood. So anyway,
well, the people. How do I say it? Because I do not want to cause it because they seem really nice. I listen to a lot of their podcasts. They are not from America. How's that? So
I already think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, and so I mockingly say I'm picking a fight, but I don't mean that. But at the same time, it's just you heard my point, and it's just like. That's the way I believe, anyways. As I know it, disclaimer: it's an opinionated show tonight. How's that?
Have I tried to have them on already?
I don't remember. I think you did.
I think I did too. That's what I'm thinking about. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just which I think it'd be cool to meet them and everything. Because well, I like what they do. I really do.
Yeah.
So it's not an actual fight, but I just, from my view, and again, I think. You're asking for trouble by actually saying that no matter what you believe as far as it goes, because everything's recorded now.
That's true. Very much so. And that's once again, that's why, I've gotten a lot of flack over the years for doing these lives, for putting so much content out there when we have nothing to show for it. But it's because it is recorded. It is a part of the digital history now that we have been on the record saying these are the things that are going to happen. This is what ASC is all about. This is what we're doing. Nobody can come along now and be like, oh man, I thought that's a great idea. Yeah, well, we've been saying that for like so many years now and stuff like that. And we told you this is going to happen and here's how it's going to work. But on the flip side, that's part of the reason why we're pulling back this year a little bit too, because all the information is out there and a lot of people can run with it too. So it's a double-edged sword.
Yes.
But anyway, you got anything else, guys? Before I hop on to the next little quick subject here.
Cool.
So anyway, if you follow our social media, anyway, if you guys enjoyed that conversation there, please definitely comment, shoot us messages, stuff like that. We would love to discuss this stuff more. If it's like a certain subject of that, you got a point on there, we can definitely hop in, chat or whatever like that, Discord or wherever, and talk more about that. But one of the things that, for 2025, we talked about doing is our merch. Now I've talked about in the past of possibly creating a newsletter too. And both those things, we've got the podcast, which is Colonize the Ocean podcast. We've got ASC, which is like kind of the umbrella. And one of the other things I want to put out there is the merch line / newsletter, which I wanted to brand it a little bit different, not just ASC. And so the one thing that kept on coming back to me was a shirt that I made a couple years ago called One Atmosphere Living. And so I thought that might be the best brand for all this, is because that's what it all encapsulates, is as us wanting to live underwater in a one atmosphere habitat, something like that. So we're working on a new design for that, and I put it out on social media, and the guys have voted on there, and we're kind of torn on it. So we're narrowed down to 2 designs. And unfortunately, I have to give the designer an answer by tomorrow. So this is kind of the last day on that before it gets finalized. But I thought I'd throw it up here, and if people want to, give their thoughts, go for it. But here's the first one. I personally am a little more fond of this one, but just barely. And then the consensus seems to be on this one here. So those are the 2 that they're in contention right now as far as what we're looking at as far as branding moving forward on this little sideline thing there. I don't know. I am okay with either one. Let me put it that way. I'll tell you the reason I told the guys, the one reason I like this one is because it's got this box around the one atmosphere. And since, ASC, our basic design is more of a cube, more of a box, it kind of coincides with that, versus the other one, which I feel that the A kind of looks like a mountain and almost makes it look like a mountain brand or something like that, like a climbing brand or something along those lines. But I think I'm also looking into it way too much. Anyway, those are my only critiques to either one of them. That being said, I think the boldness of the ATM on this one will look better on merch and stuff along those lines too. So if anybody has any thoughts, please let us know. You got a few hours before I have to give them some kind of answer. So I don't know if you guys wanted to say anything about it, or if I covered all the concerns there.
No.
All right. Well, then there we go. And one other thing before we get ready to close here, I don't know what's going on. If you follow us on Instagram, you will notice you probably can't. Our Instagram is down. It's been suspended. I don't know why. It looks like it has something to do with my phone. I can't log into anything right now. If I can log into stuff on my PC, but on my phone. So I don't know what's going on. But all the Instagrams that were on my phone have been suspended for some reason or another. So I don't know what's going on. I'm working on it, but we may have to get a new Instagram, which I had a few years ago. So hopefully not. I'm working on it, but just FYI, if you see a post about hey, there's a new Instagram, that's why, because I had to make a new one, which I hate, because we've got a nice little following on there. But it is what it is, guys. Anyway, if anybody's got anything else, great. Otherwise, Adam, you can start wrapping her up.
Well, you'll have to do the buttons for me, meaning I'm doing this on mobile.
Oh, yeah.
So first of all, AtlanticCityColony.com. That's where you can find all the information for us. That's where you just kind of touched on the social a little bit, but after we get everything straightened out, you'll find us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, X, YouTube, whatever. We're on it all. And also, you can, on that site, you can have access to the resources page that we have there. Brendan has a plethora of book recommendations and channel recommendations and all that other good stuff. Also, a link to the podcast is on there. That's on, I think last time I checked, it's on all the podcast players out there. So yeah, even if like you tune in and you watch with us, but you still listen to podcasts, go subscribe to it anyways. Just because that helps, algorithms and numbers and all that.
If I can jump in real quick, the podcast has actually been growing. I hop on almost every day, just look at what's going on. And there for a while, it was like, all right, well, it's not really doing much and stuff like that. But here recently, we're starting to get some listeners on there. And that's not like tons, but for our history, I'm feeling pretty good about it. And I don't know if it's because I'm posting twice a week now, if that's helping generate the algorithm or something like that. That's where people's finding us. But we're starting to get more and more listeners on there. So, yeah, please check us out.
Are you done interrupting me now?
I am.
Also, merch store. Our Brennan was just talking about the new logo and all that, so keep an eye on that. That's coming. Also, the Discord channel, if you go to AtlanticColony.com, you can get a link to the Discord channel. That's free to join. You can join a group of other wonderful people that are in there. We have different threads that we talk with or
It's
talk
always
about.
an interesting conversation in there too. There's some interesting. I mean, just prepared for to go anywhere you want to go.
Yeah. The nice thing about Discord is that you can have those organized conversations, like where we have threads for, hey, do you want to talk about, like at the top of the show, Babe talked about Breathe. We have a thread about like movies and stuff and media and video games, whatever. And we have threads for talking about like submersible vehicles and, whatever it may be. So all that's on our Discord. We encourage you guys to come join us and join the conversation and be silly with us if the conversation gets silly. That's other than that, patreon.com/AtlanticColony. We have Brendan. Why don't you go ahead and get that ticker up there of all of our patrons that we have thus far. We have Brian Acosta, who came in and said hello earlier. Thank you, Brian. We have Martin Reese, S. Babe Hyde, yours truly, Adam Jewell, and Big Daddy Ron Traxler as our Patreon supporters. So thank you for all that. We have different tiers for that. Like you can see at the bottom, I didn't read the tiers, but 5, 10, or 5, 15, 20, 5, 15,
15, 25.
5, 15, 25 different tiers that you can support us on. We appreciate all that. Other than that, I think I got it all covered.
I think you did
which
too.
Which I think is pretty good for me not having access to the list in front of me. So, like Brendan said, we will try to do this. Not as frequent, but maybe at least once a month. So, you guys have like a great Valentine's Day that's coming up.
Yeah,
So,
and if people have like a topic they think we should, maybe do, like they've had an idea. If you guys have ideas out there and you want us to talk about, or you think that it'd be important for us to get on the record talking about, I'm not opposed to that either. Sometimes it's hard to come up with the content. And I say at the beginning of the show, I said, trying to force content. I didn't want to do that. And I know in the past we've done that. I don't feel it's necessarily the best show. So if you have ideas for stuff that we think we should be out here talking about, let us know.
just dawned on me.
Yeah.
If we can get enough supporters and enough funding for the Atlanta Sea Colony prototype, we could actually host. If we're getting really quick with it, the Jake Paul Logan Paul boxing fight, we could probably do that underwater.
Oh my God.
Not where I thought you were going at all with any of that. Wow.
I think it's our responsibility.
Oh, man.
But hey, you know how many people would tune in, despite how stupid it is? We would have a lot of viewers for it.
That's true.
So just think of it. Business ideas. Underwater boxing match. No, but thank you guys for tuning into that. Like I said, go to the website, check us out. Other than that, we'll see you at least in March, probably.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. Bye.